Welcome into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Jell here, live on a Monday, and we're actually live. You can check us out on YouTube. Again, we're live on there right now. We'll be recording live in the future, so we can start sharing that on socials if you're interested in checking out. Usually it's a Monday, Wednesday evening is when we like to record the podcast for the next couple days, but back on YouTube you can see our shining faces. Jill's got the fire roaring in the background.
She's Shawty's fire burning on the dance floor. Whoa.
Nailed it.
Nice and monotonous.
All right, Joe, you are the one that came up with the question of the day this week for this episode, so why don't you go ahead and let the listeners know what we're going to be discussing.
Okay. So I want to bring something. So this was brought to my attention when I was listening to another show yesterday, just on the radio, and they were talking about things that were overrated. One person started off the conversation saying In-N-Out Burger is overrated. He's from Texas. I live in Texas, and I think In-N-Out's good, but I also think Whataburger's better. Whatever. That was part of the conversation. So it got the gears churning a little bit in my head, and I started thinking, why don't you name, and we'll go back and forth on this, name 3 things that are overrated, like most overrated things just in all of life. It can be a food, it can be restaurant, it can be things that just the general public likes that you don't understand. It could be music, it could be pretty much anything that you want to touch on. So why don't you kick it off here, Josh?
All right, my first one is probably not going to be a crowd pleaser here, but I'm going to put ketchup on blast.
Oh yeah.
So it's fine. It's an okay condiment, but I don't know. To me, it just doesn't have a ton of flavor. It doesn't really do the trick when I'm thinking condiments. I'd rather have mustard, rather have ranch, rather have hot sauce. It's kind of at the bottom of all of the condiments that I would go to.
Barbecue sauce over ketchup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's one of those that if I'm sitting there with a plate of fries and they don't have ranch, don't have mustard handy, the only thing that's there is ketchup, 99% of the time, I'm just eating plain fries, just with whatever seasoning they have on them. I don't really understand ketchup. I'm not a huge fan of it. So that's one thing I think is
total
overrated.
agreement with you there. I can always skip ketchup on a burger, on a dog.
Yep.
On, I will say I do sometimes get a craving for just like a steak fry with ketchup. Very rarely. That's an extremely specific craving when that happens. So that's an uncommon one, but it happens. But again, yeah, I'd rather have ranch. I'd rather have, we went over condiments in last week. Yep. And so, yeah, ketchup is not one that I would really consider up on the list at all. So I'm in total agreement with you there. But there are people that are obsessed with ketchup. Like I have one friend she literally puts ketchup on everything. So
I think we all have one of those friends.
There's always that. There's always somebody. People put ketchup on eggs and stuff. I don't know. I'd rather put salsa on eggs.
Yeah.
By a mile.
Hot sauce, anything.
Hot sauce, shit, maple syrup. I've had maple syrup on eggs when it kind of mixes in with the eggs. Not too shabby. Much rather have that than ketchup. Yeah. All right, I'm going to stick in the food category, and I'm going to go Kraft brats. I like me just a good old-fashioned Johnsonville on a charcoal grill, slightly burnt, nice little crispy, on a white roll with just some brown mustard or a spicy brown and some grilled onion and sometimes sauerkraut if I'm feeling it. But I don't need like a cherry chicken sausage brat. That's the kind of on an artisan roll with, poppy coated in poppy seeds and all that stuff. Yeah, they're fine sometimes, but I think one of my favorite foods and probably my favorite thing on the grill is just a Johnsonville, old school Johnsonville, just run of the mill, soak it in, do a little beer brat action with some onions and get it on that grill and crisp it up. And that's my go-to. I don't need all the fancy schmancy stuff.
Yeah, no, beer brats are by far superior to number one overall brat, but once in a while, though, I do like a good cheddar brat. Though you got little chunks of cheddar inside that heat up, and they're pretty solid. But again, I would agree. Just a good old fashioned Johnsonville. Is it worth my money to spend more than twice, probably the amount for one of those cheddar jalapeno brats? Yes, it sounds amazing when I'm talking about it, but just good old Johnsonville's. It's hard for me to beat. My second one, we're in the heart of their season right now with, I guess not the heart of it, heart of the playoffs. And mine is the NBA. I just cannot stand the NBA, and I think it is very overrated. Not a lot of, I don't know. It's just don't enjoy watching it. The playoffs get a little bit better with the defense, but a regular season NBA game, that is just boring. There is no excitement to it. There's no defense. There's a lot of prima donnas that are out there, a lot of guys with big personalities that I don't know. I was a guy that grew up watching Jordan, absolutely tuned into the playoffs. Even early 2000s with Kobe, Shaq, but today's basketball, I cannot watch it.
Well, especially regular season NBA, it's just all shooting threes too, which
like your drinking game you do.
Exactly, like the 2K drinking game. Classic. For those of you that haven't played it, basically it's just it's pretty straightforward. Anytime that your opponent makes a three, you have to drink. And that can turn into quite a few beers consumed by the end of the game. It's a good time. Nice easy way to pregame, especially. And we came up with a new rule. However many points you lose by at the end, that's how many ounces of beer you have to chug. So if you lose by 12, you're chugging a full beer. It's high stakes now. High stakes. But yeah, no, I didn't really pay any attention to regular season NBA at all, but I've been wowed by this year's NBA playoffs. Regular season is garbage, but don't talk about the playoffs. We talking about practice. That clip went it was that clip's anniversary yesterday or the day before the Allen Iverson press conference. No, the playoffs have been great. I know you might not get into it, but I've thought the playoffs so far have been great. But regular season ball, NBA, I'm totally with you there. Switch Ola over to the music category. I think Jay-Z is overrated. I get I think he's a fine producer. He's a very good producer. I would say he's a much better producer than musician, than rapper, but I don't see, he's very technically sound where but he sounds almost robotic. Like he doesn't have swag, and it doesn't sound like he's got, much for swag or I don't know, like my favorite rappers are just the ones that I enjoy listening to. They've got kind of like a, I don't know, just like a sound of their voice, where Jay-Z sounds very almost like robotic and technical, and it doesn't do it for me for the ear pleasure.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Jay-Z guy. We'll say though, Encore with him mixed in with Linkin Park is a bomb song.
That's true.
Song, but
and like he's good. I like when he's mixed in with other musicians. I just don't listen. I don't really like his stuff. I mean, that whole Jay-Z Kanye album that they made, I can't remember the album title. This would have been maybe a decade or maybe longer ago now. I liked Kanye, and I didn't really like anything about Jay-Z in that album outside of the production that he brought, but his rapping itself, not for me, not my style.
No, I can respect that. All right, my last one is definitely not going to be a popular choice here, but this is just me. When I walk into a ballpark, I'm sitting in the upper deck. I think sitting 100 level at a game is overrated, being like right behind home plate or being in that lower level. To me, I love sitting up high. I feel like I have a better view of the whole area, whether it's a field, court, whatever. And I'm one of those, like sitting up at Wrigley, love sitting up in the upper deck. You sit out in left field. You got Lake Michigan in the background. You can see, check out at, even when we were in San Francisco, we sat down in that 100 level, and
that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. But we walked.
No, where we were, I thought where we were sitting at the end.
Yeah, we went and we're in the upper deck area. You could look out, see the entire bay. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I love getting the whole aspect of like the stadium, taking it all in, where I don't know. As far as like the price point too, for you're paying prime dollar to go sit in that 100 level right behind home plate. I'd rather go sit up top, sit back and just take in everything.
Yeah, I don't agree with you there. You were right. I just think like being really cool, really close to the players is really cool. And I'm maybe it's just because I'm so damn used to sitting up in the upper deck from going to so many games when I was in college for $7 terrace level seats at Miller Park that I'm like that I'm just like, no way, it's way cooler to be further down. I get your point to a degree. Like if the stadium has a sweet backdrop, like in San Francisco when we went to that Giants game, or the specific example like you gave at, sitting at Wrigley. But if I'm sitting at Miller Park, yeah, I don't know, the backdrop is the highway or the parking lot, like not really like the sexiest, most picturesque thing. So yeah. I love sitting down, the few times that I have down really close to the Brewers dugout and seeing all the players and everything really up close. I think that's really cool. But, I think like for hockey, I'd probably rather sit a little bit higher up so you could see the entire rink, probably be able to follow the puck a lot easier.
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably depends situation to situation. I think it's really cool to be able to be a little closer. I guess I've never sat really close during a football game, either college or NFL. I've always sat pretty far up. My most recent time in Seattle, I guess you've been to 1,000 games at Camp Randall. I mean, what's the closest you've been and how did you enjoy that?
I got down to the C level. Some family friends have tickets down there. Ours are in A, so we're up a little bit higher, but my family friends are, I don't know, probably 10 rows up or so. And half the time it's hard seeing over the players a little bit. They're standing on the sideline too. So if the ball's on the near side, it makes it a little bit difficult sometimes.
That's a good point.
I don't know. I like taking it all in.
Yeah, I guess. All right. I'll go situationally. That's all right. Okay, my last thing that I think is overrated completely, maybe not overrated, but gets completely overblown in the most annoying way possible, is anything that a politician says or tweets. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters what a politician says or tweets. It means nothing. They're all liars. They're all just lining their own pockets with everything. And I think action is the only thing that matters to me. And I just who gives a shit about what some senator tweets? It doesn't matter. All he's doing is he's just lying to you so that he or she is just lying to you so that they can line their own pockets with more cash. That's all politics is. That's not just here. That's everywhere. That's global. So who gives a shit? I mean, I obviously understand like there should be outrage if there's an outwardly racist president or senator or outwardly sexist president or senator. I get that. That does matter. But like, I just think, like, who gives a shit about Twitter? People who tweets outside of famous people that, like, most people aren't actively tweeting. So I don't know. I just think it's, maybe overrated is the wrong word, but overblown. Absolutely.
You can find us tweeting at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. If you want to follow Gel, you can be found at DasGel. It's at DasJel. I can be found at JPEC. That's at DasJPEC. You can find us on YouTube. Again, we are doing live streams.
Live on a YouTube.
You can check us out. Our next one probably be Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening. We'll tweet it out, so that way if you want to check us out, you know what time we're hopping on. Just go to our YouTube page and you'll be able to check us out on a live stream. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of that review. Get you some sticker swag sent out in the mail. All right, Gel, what are you sipping on today?
Good old went bush fishing.
Ooh, baby.
Dove into the fridge. Reeled in a bush.
Attaboy.
Latte.
It hit 70 here in Wisconsin today.
Dude, it's in the 90s down here.
Yeah, we're going to be hitting 90s at the end of the week. So what better way to enjoy a nice Wisconsin day that's hot than a Leinenkugel summer shandy?
Nice. It was the first thing that popped into my head.
Yep.
So refreshing.
I also have a surprise beer too that I'll get into in just a little bit. So,
all right.
Well,
can't wait.
That little bit is here, Gel. So we're going to talk about the Browns here and Baker Mayfield, somebody that obviously Deshaun Watson coming in. Baker is still technically on the Browns. We'll see what is going to end up happening there. So I'm going to kick it over to you, Gel, and just let's ask you what do you think the Browns are going to do with Baker? Is there any trade market for him at all? Is he just going to be a cut candidate? They're going to sit on it. And while you're doing that, I do owe a beer chug from the NFL draft. So I have my nice handy dandy Busch Light.
Bush fishing indeed.
Bush fishing indeed. So I will chug this while you tell the listeners what you think is going to happen with Baker.
Yeah, I just don't see what I guess, okay, both sides I think are kicking themselves in the foot with what they're doing. Right now, Baker is still going out there on his little pity tour where he's going on podcasts, going on, probably YouTube live streams. Check us out. Find our channel by searching Dead Arm Sports, going on these live podcasts, live shows, and basically kind of feels like he's almost sabotaging himself. He's trying to trying to almost make people start feeling bad for him. I had 4 coordinators over 4 years. Yeah, that sucks. But shit, you're the number 1 overall pick. You had multiple coaches at Oklahoma. You went to 3 different schools. You transferred twice and walked on. You're used to this change. So no excuse there for you, Baker. I get the NFL is hard, but don't be out here making excuses like that. And then, he's also saying on these shows that he's not going to change it all. I think that's a terrible attitude. That's a terrible mentality for somebody that very clearly does need to change his attitude. How can the number 1 overall pick and a Heisman winner have such a chip on their shoulder? I mean, I get it when you're a walk-on that helps, and it shows this competitiveness that he's got, but you don't need to show every single day in every single press conference that you've got this massive chip on your shoulder. I think it gets exhausting. I think that teammates don't just it's like, dude, get over yourself at some point. Like, just be a fucking leader. We don't need your sob story about, I had to work super hard to get here. Yeah. Newsflash. We all had to work hard to get here. There's a ton of people with athletic ability in this world. Very few can have the discipline to be able to make it to the league. So yeah, we've all had to work hard to get here. So I think teammates were over it. I think coaches were over it. And I think I think that the Browns, ownership management was just kind of over him. I mean, there was that report that came out saying that they want an adult at quarterback, and they went to Deshaun Watson, who has 22 civil sexual lawsuits against him right now, or open lawsuits. That's the upgrade in adult at quarterback for the Browns, because they view Baker that low, and he's not changing anything about himself. So I just think Baker's shooting himself in the foot. And then additionally, the Browns, what are they doing just sitting here? Are they waiting? Are they going to wait it out to see what Deshaun's penalty is for what his suspension is, and see if they can ride out, let's say it's a 10-game suspension. Are they really going to hang on to Baker and tell him, well, you're going to be our quarterback for the next 10 games, but once Deshaun's back, Baker's not going to go for that. And I don't know. I just think that not that there's any sort of trade value for him. Obviously, if there was any sort of trade market for him, he would have been gone. But nothing's going to change. We're after the draft. Nobody's injured. Nobody's getting hurt right now. I mean, the Browns just feel like they're sitting there wasting everyone's time by sitting here on Baker unnecessarily. And it's going to hurt, teams from wanting to do future business with them, because they're being stubborn on something that they have no reason to be stubborn about. So I don't know why the Browns haven't just cut bait and let Baker go and just rid themselves of this headache. But it's the Browns. It's Jimmy Haslam and that ownership group. I just don't know what they think they're going to get out of this. So Browns are being the Browns, of course, but I think both Baker and the Browns are just kind of shooting themselves in the foot here.
Yeah, I don't blame the Browns at all for moving on from Baker. His production on the field was not consistent at all, and they're a franchise that's been starving for a franchise quarterback for a long time, and they saw an opportunity to get Deshaun in, and they took advantage of that. So I don't blame them at all for that, but I don't know what to do with him either. I don't know if he's going to end up being a post-June 1st cut or what's going on, but there's no trade market for him right now. The only team I could possibly see him going to is Seattle. I don't think Carolina's really in the mix anymore. I mean, they already went this
Carolina.
Yeah, yes, Carolina. But no, they already went this route last year with Sam Darnold, and I don't see them doing the same thing. They, like you said, they took Matt Corral in the 3rd round, and probably you're going to see what he has to offer and give him a run. Who knows? Maybe he'll win that starting job. Sam, I mean,
Darnold you said in our previous recording, you think he might be the first rookie to start.
He could. He's got a path. All he
I don't see why not.
Beat out Sam Darnold. They're
not too tough.
Not tied to Darnold. Where they're like, oh, no, he's our starter. It's going to be an open competition. So that leaves Baker Mayfield with Seattle is pretty much the only destination in the league, unless he's going to go back up somewhere. The Browns, like you had touched on, if they're hoping that he's going to start for them the first 10 games or however long Deshaun Watson ends up getting suspended for or anything like that, there's no way Baker's going to do that. He's already said that he's not
obviously not
sit there and do that. And he was looking for a trade and everything. So there's no way he's going to. He'll just, worst case, he'll sit out a year if he has to. I could totally see him doing that. And I don't blame him for doing that. I mean, with Deshaun Watson coming in. So I guess it's just kind of this wait and see mode. If the Browns are holding out for a trade, it's not happening. So like I said, I don't know if it's going to be a June 1st, post-June 1st cut or what's going on there, but Baker is done in Cleveland, and it's better.
But what's the point of this wait and see approach? That's the part that I'm struggling with. I mean, we're past the draft. Everybody's rosters are mostly set. What's the wait and see? Wait to see what? That's the part that I don't get. That the Bakers, I mean, I don't know. It just feels like a complete mistake on their end. I would rather just get rid of the headache. I don't know if that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree completely with that. And it's like I said, we'll have to, I guess, wait for now and See what ends up happening there. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of any other teams as a possibility? Yeah, if somebody goes down in training camp, and that's maybe what they're
it.
holding on to. That's the only thing.
That's got to be it. I mean, shit. Do you throw the Jets in there if Zach Wilson just sucks ass?
No.
I can't think. Detroit. If Goff, if they're like, do we want to give Baker a shot? We know what Goff is. That's maybe an option. Otherwise, he's playing a backup role, most likely wherever he goes. Yeah. Sounds like Seattle wants to give Drew Lock every shot that they can. They said that Drew Lock would be their favorite out of any quarterback in this draft. Yeah. Again, I go back to what I said about politicians. Don't believe anything they say or tweet. Same thing with coaches. Same thing with Pete Carroll. 100%. Yeah. Pete, like, go ahead, do your thing. Keep, gnawing on that, on your bubble gum and rocking your white New Balance dad shoes and everything on the sideline. But stop lying to us. It's so obvious. He just keeps lying about his quarterback situation. How many times has he said about Kaepernick, I'd love to see him in the league. Well, then fucking do something about it and sign him. He's full of shit, but No, I don't know where he's going to go, where he could go. At least not somebody that's going to trade for him and pay the $18.5 million that he's due.
That's the big part of this, is the money that he's due on that. I could see if he got cut, there might be a little bit of a market for him, because if you're the Giants would make sense there. Daniel Jones is not going to be there after this year. And you could bring in Baker to have a nice quarterback competition there during the training camp, and then kind of go from there with it. Maybe give Baker a chance, give him a little bit of rejuvenation. Got a solid wide receiver group there. You got Saquon Barkley, so that might be something too to keep an eye on. They might be players for him if he were to get cut, but again, nobody's trading for him for $18 million. That's not happening.
No chance.
All right, Jell, throw it over to you for this next segment here. Let you introduce her.
Yeah. So a lot of people, this shut up and dribble thing started a while back. I forget the name of the Fox News personality that basically told LeBron. It was when LeBron was talking about China and when they were at conflict, in a conflict with Hong Kong, and he was talking about China, and she said, just focus on ball. And she, the quote was, shut up and dribble. So that quote has been kind of, being thrown around all over the place for the last couple of years. So very recently, Chris Mad Dog Russo, he's on ESPN Weekly. He's on, he's got his own radio show in New York, longtime sports personality. And he basically said the same thing I believe that exact quote, shut up and dribble, to Draymond, or about Draymond Green, after, his post-game pressers, after he's gotten thrown out of a playoff game and went and did, he's got his own podcast on the Volume, and hashtag not a sponsor. And and really the point. So he went off and said, Draymond, stop, just shut up and dribble, focus on playing. And, it got me, it got me thinking, I think that that's inappropriate for somebody in media to say that to a player, or to think that a player should just shut up and play their sport, just focus on their sport. Don't say anything about social issues. Don't say anything about any sort of conflict. I think that that's, I don't think that that's right, because any other normal person, that's not a famous person, we can all go ahead and comment on political issues, anything that we want. We can go talk about whatever shit. We're not professional athletes. We're out here talking about sports on a podcast. Like, we can do whatever we want. So I don't think it's fair for a media member to say to a professional athlete, shut up and just focus on your craft. Is that fair? I mean, I guess, what are you thinking about, with that?
No, I agree completely with that, with what you were saying. And the reason that I think I don't mind professional athletes speaking up and having an opinion on different things is because of how today's society is. We're very social media heavy, where a lot of people are on social media, or that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's where they get a lot of their information from. And I mean, look, in the evening time, are you turning on the news where you're going to hear depressing story after depressing story after depressing story? Or are you watching a sporting event, watching some of your favorite athletes, just kind of relaxing and unwinding from the day, taking in some sports where, I don't know, you see an athlete or see one of your favorite players tweeting out about some story or something like that, and it makes people more aware of what is going on. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. You see your favorite athlete tweeting out about whatever, and then you might go on and Google it or look it up and see what is actually going on about it. I don't see it as a bad thing. Everybody has freedom of speech, has the right to say what they want. Like you said, just because that athlete is up on a huge pedestal because they're famous and have a big platform of social media followers and stuff, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to help spread the word, or at least make people more aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I just think it's hypocritical as well for a media member to say, shut up and focus on your craft and focus on your, whatever sport you play, rather than, getting on a podcast or, talking about something in the world of, whatever, if it's a global conflict, if it's something business wise, whatever. I think the media is so, especially sports media, obviously, like Chris Russo, is shit. Half of their content is what these players say in post-game press conferences or in interviews. There's so much content out there. So really, these athletes are almost like members of the press. They're almost media members themselves. So I just find it hypocritical to then turn around and be critical of that person for voicing themselves. Unless it's like these, Chris Russo or these sports, whoever thinks this way, they want, in sports media, they want athletes to only speak out in the exact perfect way, in the exact perfect environment. Like, do you want to get to know these athletes? Do you just want to hear, your post-game press conference cookie cutter, like, yeah, third quarter, I had 2 turnovers. I could have passed it to 24, should have lobbed it, instead went for the bounce pass. Like, do you want to just hear that? Or do you want to hear or do you want to have an actual conversation with these people? Because I find that's way more entertaining than listening to a post-game, run-of-the-mill post-game presser. So I think it's extremely hypocritical considering how much content these sports media members get out of these athletes. And maybe they're just afraid. It's a power dynamic thing. I don't know. Like, Draymond players used to not have the same type of platform that they do now, where Draymond Green has his own podcast. JJ Redick's going on ESPN every week. You got NFL guys that some are better than others, of course, that are getting on ESPN. Famously, Emmitt Smith, great football player, terrible on TV. So like, you've got some that are better than others, no question about it. But I almost wonder if these, there's sports radio. There's a show on Fox Sports Radio, hashtag not a sponsor, hosted by LeVar Arrington, TJ Hushmanzada, Plaxico Burris.
Hushmanzilli? Who's your mama?
TJ, who's your mama? Classic. But like, dude, I just feel like, the old school media members are maybe afraid of losing their time slot, because I'm sure that time slot was occupied by a more traditional sports media talkhead in the past. Now it's being taken over by former NFL players. There probably is a little bit of, maybe they feel a little threatened about it. I I don't know what it is, but I just think it's how much content they get out of these athletes. It's so hypocritical to tell them to quote unquote shut up and dribble.
Yeah. No, if I had a guess, I would guess that some of these sports media personalities ratings are a little bit down, so they're probably just doing it for clicks and trying to throw an athlete under the bus for something that they had said. And hey, it's working. We're talking about
it right now. You're right. Yeah. I mean, really, this is I guess the only three things really that you watch live now are sports, if there's news and any sort of like political event. It's all live events. I mean, there's not too many times where it's certainly obviously a lot more dead now than it was even 5-10 years ago of sitting down and watching, sitcoms or, whatever show, when you can just watch it on Netflix or Hulu the next day.
Yep. And
without ads or whatever. And, on your own time, you don't have to set an alarm to, I'll make sure at 7:00 I'm here to watch, Masked Singer. Like, no, you can just next day, you can just get it on.
Not a sponsor.
Like, you can just watch it at your own time on Hulu the next day, or Netflix the next day or whatever. So maybe it's just a threatening feeling throughout the entire media and they're just scared. I don't know, but just think it's hypocritical. And I think athletes should absolutely be able to voice their opinion, give their thoughts, give their, they're not experts either. So you don't have to take it as an expert opinion on something that's like a global conflict. If we got athletes out there talking about trying to get into global conflict, just know that they're not experts, but neither is the host of that show, most likely. So I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way when I hear things like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know. It is what it is. But speaking of media and players voicing their opinions, we had some unfavorable comments about Yankee Stadium come out over the weekend, and
nice.
It was a little league park. So one of the teams that plays at Yankee Stadium, the New York Yankees, are in first place in the AL East, and one of the teams that we want to talk about. We haven't talked much MLB. There's been a lot of football lately with the draft going on, and going to do a little bit of a MLB recap so far. We're about around a month into the season, actually, with that delayed start to the season that 1 week. So we're kind of at that mark, and man, there is some good baseball being played in New York right now, both the Yankees and Mets in first place. Those are two teams we kind of put on blast during our preview too. The Yankees were all about the long ball. You had said, can they keep it up, their streak from last season? And I'm here to tell you right now through the first month, Jell, yes, they can, because they are leading the league with 37 long balls so far this season. And their pitching staff is keeping right up with the hitting as well. Second in team ERA with a 2.6 ERA. So Yankees, both sides of the diamond, are on fire right now to start off the season.
Yeah, I mean, you have to say probably the biggest surprise on the Yankees is Nestor.
Nestor, I got it up here.
I keep thinking Torres, but I know that's wrong. Nestor Cortez. Yeah, today we're recording on a Monday, live on a Monday. Went 7 1/3 today.
No hit
ball until the Yanks got a single, and Aaron Judge ended up scoring the winning run at some point, or the go-ahead run, and they beat the Rangers 1-0. So they can pitch their way to wins. They can. And obviously, like you said, they're still slugging right now. Again, can it sustain? That was my whole thing. Can you sustain this power for a full season and just try to slug your way to an AL pennant? Right now, it looks like they can. But but again, we're only a month into the season. We're only 30 games deep for most teams. So we're still, I mean, are we even a fifth of the way, or just over a fifth of the way there?
Yeah.
No, just under a fifth of the way there.
Yeah. Mets are 20-10 right now. So 30 games into it. So yeah, about just under a fifth of the way there. So can they sustain this throughout the rest of the regular season? I don't know.
but it's certainly working right now, and they do play in a really tough division. I mean, we gotta also mention the Rays here, sitting there at 18-11. They just continue to sell off these veteran pieces, these higher dollar
Right.
pieces, and then just always hang there for some reason. The Rays are just able to do it. I don't know if it's certainly, I can't imagine it's their facilities. I mean, look at their stadium, the Trop.
The Trop.
It's
Fine
garbage
place to take in a game. That's one that I like, sitting in the upper deck to take in the skyline.
Take in the atmosphere. Yeah, you can maybe get a ball to hit the catwalk and ricochet over to you in the stands.
Yeah. And me being like one of two people sitting in an entire section, I probably got a good chance at that ball. The Rays, they're hitting the cover off the ball right now. They've got 238 hits on the season, good enough for 5th in all of MLB. So off to a hot start. And like you said, it's cool seeing a small market team like that being able just to stay up there at the top of the standings year after year after year. It's really refreshing to see. And it's one of those, like, you can't hate the Rays. I mean, it's one of those,
Rays
the Yankees
here
are up there every year, blah, blah, blah. But nobody's saying that about the Rays. I mean, they're doing it within their organization, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew Wander Franco. He'd been the number one prospect in baseball for multiple years. We all knew he was going to be awesome when he got here, but he's better already than I think we thought he's going to be. I mean, he's four jacks on the year, 310 average for a kid that's like 21. Maintaining that average, that's the most impressive part, while he's also, a threat on the base paths and a defensive wizard. Can play all around the infield. He's seen time at third, short, and second. So defensive whiz with speed, with pop, and hitting 310. You got to love the average too with some of these young guys, especially the way that baseball is trending, where it's, we don't really give a shit about average or strikeouts. We just want, home runs, walks, and basically home runs and walks. That's the goal, the analytical goal. And he's just an all around baller. So gotta love that for the Rays.
Yep. I want to throw it back to the Mets too, because they're, like I said, one of the best teams in baseball right now, 20-10 record. And if Superman's weakness is kryptonite, the Mets is September. So it is still early in the season, but the Mets absolutely hitting the cover off the ball, leading the league in batting average, hitting 255, 257 hits on the season. And that bullpen's no slouch either. They're at 3.24 ERA right now, good enough for 5th in the majors without Jacob deGrom throwing to a live batter at all. So, I mean, you'll get him back at some point in time during the season. And the other day, it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up, because they are known for their September collapses. But, I mean, off to a hot start.
Yeah, the other day, I think it was Friday night, down, or maybe it was either Thursday or Friday night, down 7-1 against the Phillies in the 9th, and they came back and won. Starling Marte had 2 at-bats that inning, 2 hits that inning, including the go-ahead. I mean, great pickup. They got, they grabbed him from the A's in an offseason trade. And they also picked up Mark Canha from the A's, Chris Bassett from the A's. So the A's just basically unloaded their good players over to the Mets, and it's working out for them.
Yeah. I want to throw you under the bus here a little bit, Joe, as we transition over to the AL Central and talk about the Minnesota Twins. I do believe during our preview episode, you were kind of bashing their pitching staff, who is 4th in the majors right now with the 3.11 ERA. So, I mean,
did you see what? Did you think John Ryan was gonna be the ace of that staff? Who the hell is that? He's coming out and just absolutely on fire. So, I definitely did not see this start from the Rays, from the Twins. With the same record as the Rays. I was never a believer in that pitching staff, but John Ryan, or whatever the guy, I think it was John Ryan, just came out of nowhere, and he's been awesome. Maybe he'll be kind of like the Junior Guerra of the Brewers from a couple of years ago, where comes out of nowhere, has a little one hit wonder. That could be the case here for John Ryan, but hey, it's working so far. Twins are winning games. Byron Buxton may be the best player in baseball when he's healthy. I mean, he's got, I believe, 7 jacks, steals, plays elite defense, runs the bases amazingly. I mean, he's one of the more intense, amazing players to watch. He hit a 450-foot bomb the other day into the third deck. So he's really a do-it-all kind of a player. So when he's healthy, he's up there with Mike Trout and, you know, some of the other guys as potentially one of the best players in the league. If not, you know, I mean, he's easily top 5 when healthy, I think. But I mean, just a super exciting player to watch. Very comparable to like a Ronald Acuna. Extremely exciting player to watch.
Yep. It's cool too, seeing some of these teams that are in relatively colder markets at the beginning of the season get off to such a hot start, because it only makes you wonder what's going to happen once the summertime hits too, and weather starts warming up. Ball's going to start traveling a little bit farther. So
but do you think that may hurt?
Because other teams will be coming in and not having to deal with
not having to deal. Yeah. Right.
No,
so
that's the other side of the coin there.
That's where maybe the pitching could flip, you know, when it does start heating up. Who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I was wrong about all these teams so far, the Mets, the Yankees, and the Twins.
Glad you said that, Joe, because we're going to start talking about another team we were both wrong on, and that is the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers were one that we were talking about possibly wild card. We did say that there was a lot of pieces that had to fall into place with them, but not a great start. 8-19 on the season, last in a lot of categories, or towards the bottom quarter of the league. 26 at batting average, hitting a solid 220 as a team. 25th in hits, haven't cracked the 200 mark yet. Only 11 long balls on the season, so power is definitely one of their struggles. And
Aaron Judge has 9, and the Tigers have 11.
11 as a team, yes. Not great, Bob. Then 29th in RBIs with 76, so I haven't cracked 100 there yet either. So definitely not a great start with the bats.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a really young team. Javi bombs have not started yet, apparently, in Detroit. So that's a little bit of a downer, but still a really young team. They've still got a number of good pieces. You got the power sticks and between Torkelson and Heimer Candelario. So once they get going, I think that they've got a good shot. Torkelson actually started off the year pretty strong, but he's kind of faded a little bit.
Yeah.
Which that typically happens to young players, especially rookies in baseball. So not too much of a shocker there. I thought they'd be at least 500 or close to 500 right now. They're not even close. I think they're 10-19 right now or something like that. So yeah, not a great start. That wild card push is seems a little tougher right now for Detroit.
Yes, little bit of a hole to dig out. Somebody that's not in a hole at all to start off the season, Los Angeles Angels. What do you think of their hot start?
They've always had hitters between Trout, last year's Trout, Shohei Ohtani, and Anthony Rendon.
Yeah,
now they've also now Tyler Ward is off to one of the best starts in the league. I mean, he's hitting in the 320s. He's got himself, I think, 6 home runs. Guy came out of nowhere, 28-year-old, he was a first round pick, but again, that was in he's 28 now. So think back, a ways back, probably 2012, 2014. He was a first round pick, but still guys don't normally break out at age 28, at least sustainably. So see if this is sustainable. But the biggest difference this year has been their pitching is actually showing up to the ballpark, which it hasn't in years past. So Noah Syndergaard, kind of an under the radar. Throw the hammer. Kind of an underrated, not underrated, but under the radar signing a little bit, just because he was injured all last year. He's been injured most of his career, to be honest. Yeah. And he's coming out to a really strong start. ERA right, in the low 3s, getting his strikeouts, which he's always done. He's not throwing as spectacularly fast, which is probably a good thing for his longevity, because he came in throwing 101 miles an hour when he first came into the league, and that led to multiple Tommy John surgeries and shoulder issues. So looks like he's kind of adjusted his, the way he pitches, and it's working. So as long as he sticks with that, and if they can keep their pitching up, I don't see why they can't compete for at least an AL wildcard spot, but really compete with Houston for that AL West crown. Because Seattle so far has been extremely disappointing. So I don't know if Seattle's necessarily going to be there. The A's are terrible, as we all know, and the Rangers are just as bad as as the A's, even with their Seager and Simeon signings. That's a lot of S's for you. Yeah, no, I gotta love what the Angels are doing. As long as they can keep that pitching going, I don't see any reason that they can't. That finally we can see Mike Trout in the playoffs again. He's got 3 career playoff at bats. It was in a wild card game.
That's crazy. 1
playoff game, 3 at bats in his career. That's not acceptable. So I'm rooting for it. You'd love to see Trout and Shohei in the postseason this year.
Yes. Another team that's got a lot of stars that are fun to watch in the playoffs, San Diego Padres. And that was one of the big storylines for our predictions episode that we were talking about is, can they stay afloat without Fernando Tatis Jr. being there for the start of the season with that wrist injury? And yeah, they can. Starting off 19-10, and that's due to their starting rotation. 17 quality starts so far to start the season. Musgrove's got 6, Darvish is at 5, and Manaea is at 5. So 16 out of those 17 coming from the top 3 guys in the rotation, and they're 5th in the league in RBIs. So they're hitting the cover off the ball as well. So nice, well-rounded team without that big power bat and the great bat of Fernando Tatis Jr.
And even adding to that, I just want to throw in another name into that rotation, Mackenzie Gore.
Yep.
High, top prospect. I believe he was the number 2 pick in the draft a few years ago. He's coming in and he's been lights out. He's only made a couple starts, but his ERA is under 2. He's set to go again, I think tonight, again, live on a Monday. So we'll see.
And Mike Clevenger's back now too, after missing all of last year. So made his first start of the season last week in Cleveland.
And Gore is in here for, that lefty they got from the Rays, got pulled in that playoff game 2 years ago.
Oh,
Stud.
yeah.
He's been injured, and Gore's been in that spot. So they're talking about, okay, shoot, are they going to have to send Gore back down, and to try to figure out this rotation because he's been solid, and you don't want to send down a guy that's that high end of a prospect and that's been performing this well. You'd like to keep him here, but what are you going to do with that rotation? Are you going to have a 6-7 man rotation now that everybody's getting back and healthy? I don't think that doesn't make any sense. So it sounds like they're going to probably have to send him back down, which stinks. Blake Snell.
Yep.
Blake Snell's the one that's coming back next week. So kind of sucks for Gore, but what are you going to do? Padres are off to this mad start. The other player on this team that's really carrying their offense, Manny Machado, on a tear to start off the year, 7 jacks, 6 steals. Didn't really think he was doing much on the bases these days, but he's got 6 steals on the year and hitting a whopping 385. So overall, best player in baseball.
Pretty good.
And Eric Hosmer is also off to a really nice start, which the Padres were basically trying to dump him for nothing. I mean, they were gonna include most of his remaining salary and a pitcher. They offered him to the Mets just for Dominic Smith, and the Mets turned it down because they didn't want Hosmer. Turns out Hosmer's been great so far this year. So Padres off to a great start. Do you think that this may they could compete for the division in the West with the Dodgers? And the Giants aren't off to a great start. So really right now it's those 2 teams, is LA and San Diego.
I mean, San Diego's got the experience to do that. I mean, they've been in the playoffs the last few years, and no, I think they could definitely be able to compete with the Dodgers. I mean, I guess they didn't make the playoffs last year before they did, but no, the rotation's off to a hot start. You'll get that nice rejuvenation, hopefully, of Fernando Tatis in the summertime. And no, I like the Padres. Any other surprises before we take the old driver out of the bag and swing away for our golf section, Joe?
Slice 4. Let's tee off.
All right, sounds good. On the tee, Max Homa winning the Wells Fargo, finished at 8 under. I guess you could say he survived the weekend. A lot of guys just dropping off when that
dropping
Friday
like
round
flies.
Some nasty rain and wind on that Friday round kind of continued into the weekend. So tough conditions for these guys out there. Fitzpatrick finished at second, 6 under par, and Rory with a nice top 5 finish. But no, Max Homa back in the winner's circle, winning the Wells Fargo.
Yeah, Homa's he's been right there most of the year. He's had a number of top 5 finishes or top 10, top 5s. It feels like he's always, at some point throughout the, each tournament, each weekend, he's kind of, somewhere near the top, or you see him, when they're scrolling down the leaderboard, he's not too far down on any of these tournaments. So good to see the win, and just consistent play. He never had that huge drop off. I mean, especially we saw Jason Day. He went into the weekend at 10 under, and he on Sunday, 2 holes in a row, bogey, next hole, triples. So 4 over on 2 holes. That's not great. That's that's in line with me. So not great for a professional golfer.
No.
But yeah, no, Jason Day thought he would maybe get his first win in a while. And yeah, then he just kind of did what Jason Day has been doing a lot lately and just kind of falling off hard.
Yeah, that's what both of our picks did for our golf picks this last week. Both fell off hard over the weekend. Both were under par going into the weekend round, and I ended up getting the better of you by 1 stroke. Terrell Hatton finished at +4, Tony Finau at +5. So we got a stroke back, starting the comeback, heading into the home stretch here. And
yeah, if you would have, if you even had somebody that broke even or that hit even,
yeah,
that would have made a pretty decent dent. But I'll give you the 1 stroke, considering my guy finished 5 over.
Yeah, no,
I'll take a 1 stroke loss here.
Yes, not a great showing. Golf is headed to your neck of the woods this week at the AT&T Byron Nelson down at was it TPC Ranch,
Fort Worth
Ranch, something.
Shoot,
think what the name is of the course, but yeah,
we'll talk about it on the Wednesday or on the Thursday episode, Wednesday recording.
Yes. Well, if you can watch us live on Wednesday, or listen to us on Thursday, we can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Be the first thing that pops up. Again, our YouTube is firing on all cylinders. Check out our YouTube page, Dead Arm Sports. Got live feeds on there when we record. Otherwise, our episode will pop up same day that the recording comes out on our listening platforms. You want to follow Gel, he can be found at Das Gel. I can be found at Das JPEC. Give us all a follow at Dead Arm Sports, at Das Gel, at Das JPEC, tweeting out and hitting the socials hard, and got some good content there for you. And again, subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite listening platform. Write us a review, screenshot that, send it to us, get you some sticker swag sent out for free. Gel, where can they find us at?
Hit us up on Anchor, our presenting sponsor. They allow us to do all of our editing, all of our presenting, all of our publishing to you for free onto Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Pods. Again, make sure to hit us up on our YouTube channel. You can find us just by searching Dead Arm Sports. Hit us up live. We'll also keep these recordings there for you, saved on YouTube for your later listening pleasure if you aren't able to join live. So make sure, just make sure to hit us up. And if you're just listening to the podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars, please. Take a screenshot of that written review. Send it to us at Dead Arm Sports on Twitter and Instagram or Instagram. Send us a screenshot of that review. Send us a question. Send us some feedback. Send us, just any segments any topics that you want us to hit. And we will make sure to hit them up, on the next show.
Oh, love it. If you could tell one of your friends, family members, coworkers about the podcast, definitely helps us spread the word, get you even more content out there. Appreciate everybody out there listening. We'll be back on Wednesday for a live stream. Otherwise, you'll get our next episode on Thursday. And Joe, close us out.
Live on a Monday.